Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be looking at leadership,
Okay.
and we're going to be exploring what really sets leaders apart from just managers.
Right.
And I'm really excited about the material you've provided. It
Yeah.
seems like there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, there is a lot. I mean, a lot of these pieces all sort of speak to each other in interesting ways. So I think it's going to be an interesting deep dive.
Yeah, it seems like the recurring theme in a lot of this material is that leadership is about love.
Yeah.
And not necessarily in like a sentimental way,
Right.
but as this really driving force for growth and for connection.
Absolutely. And to understand that fully, I think we need to unpack the very significant distinction between leadership and management.
Right.
And one of the things that we see is the case study about the downfall of Sears.
Sears,
Yeah.
once a retail giant, what happened there?
Well, Sears had really robust management structures,
Okay.
like systems and processes and hierarchies in place.
Yeah.
But what they lacked was visionary leadership. They weren't able to sort of see around the corner and adapt to the changing world.
Well,
And they ended up just managing the present,
right.
and they really failed to lead into the future.
So you're saying that even with really good management like they had at Sears,
Mm-hmm.
the lack of vision can still be fatal to a company.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The world was changing around them. The retail landscape was transforming, and discount retailers came out, and they were really popular. And you had upscale department stores.
Right.
And Sears was sort of stranded in the middle with this huge selection of everything that suddenly nobody really wanted because people were looking for more specialized experiences. So they were just managing their existing model and not actually leading the charge into a new era.
So I guess what we're seeing here is that strong management alone
Yeah.
can't guarantee success in a changing environment.
It seems not. And this brings us to a really key leadership trait that that's highlighted in the source material, which is effective quitting.
Effective quitting. What do you mean by that?
So it might sound kind of counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but one of the most valuable things a leader can do is to be able to recognize when a certain path is no longer viable
Okay.
and to pivot decisively.
So are you saying that sometimes the best thing a leader can do
Yeah.
is actually walk away from something
Sometimes, yeah.
and realize that,
Yeah.
just clinging to this failing strategy is not leadership.
You're right.
It's just stubbornness.
Exactly. And Stuart Butterfield's story is a really good counterpoint to that.
Stuart Butterfield, remind me.
So he's the founder of Slack,
Oh, yeah, right.
and he had actually had two previous ventures that completely failed.
Really?
Yeah. But because of his vision and his adaptability, he was able to create Slack, which has been incredibly successful.
Wow. So his story really speaks to resilience then
Yeah.
and the power of vision. But what do you think it was that allowed him to succeed where others might have given up?
I think Butterfield had this really unwavering belief in his vision. And it wasn't about the money because, you can never pay people enough to care. It was about a deeper passion. And that really resonated with his team.
That genuine passion. It's contagious, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And he also used this thing that the article called mental simulation.
Mental simulation.
Yeah. So this is like the ability to sort of see into the future, to envision how things were going to work before they even existed.
So he was able not only to dream big, but to really visualize the steps to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's powerful.
Right. So that combined with his willingness to quit effectively
Right.
meant that he could navigate the unpredictable world of entrepreneurship. He understood that staying the course is only valuable if the course is still leading towards the destination you want to go to.
Right. That makes sense. So this sort of brings us to another interesting point,
Yeah.
which is the role of character in leadership.
Yes. Absolutely.
Because it's not just about the skills and strategies. It's about who you are at your core.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's about aligning your actions with your values. And there's a really fascinating tool in one of these pieces. It's called a personal scorecard.
A personal scorecard.
Yeah.
I like that. Tell me more.
So it helps you to distinguish between performance character strengths and moral character strengths.
Okay. So what's the difference between those two?
Okay, so performance character strengths are about your relationship with yourself.
Okay.
Things like perseverance, self-control, and zest. These are really important for achieving goals and overcoming obstacles.
Right. So these are the things that kind of keep us going, the
Yeah.
inner qualities that drive us forward.
Exactly. But leadership is also about our relationships with other people. And that's where the moral character strengths come in.
Okay.
Things like kindness and fairness and social intelligence.
It sounds like those moral character strengths are really what allow us to connect with other people
Yeah.
and inspire them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. They shape how we interact with our teams, how we make decisions, and ultimately what kind of impact we have on the world.
So really what we're saying is that true leadership isn't just about hitting targets
Right.
and
Yeah.
climbing the ladder. It's about embodying a set of values that guide your actions and your relationships.
You got it. And this is really where I think the idea of leadership as love starts to come together.
Yeah.
Because it's about having genuine care for the well-being and the growth of the people that you lead.
Yeah.
It's about creating an environment where people feel valued and respected and empowered.
So this is where we start to bridge the gap
Mm-hmm.
between the more practical elements of leadership and this idea of love.
Absolutely. And to dig into that a little bit deeper, I'd like to bring in another really interesting concept from one of the sources,
Okay.
which is the idea of challenges as opportunities for growth.
Oh, I like that. Let's explore that a bit.
Okay.
I'm curious to see how that connects back to this idea of love as well.
Yeah. So the source asks this question: is God punishing me or is God challenging me?
Interesting.
And it's really reframing challenges as opportunities
Right.
to become stronger and wiser.
So instead of looking at challenges as like a setback,
Uh-huh.
we can actually see them as a stepping stone on the path to growth.
Exactly. And this also connects with the idea of what the source calls constructive discontent.
Constructive discontent.
Yeah. So it's this need to constantly strive for positive change and improvement.
So true leaders aren't content with just the way things are.
Right.
They're always pushing for something better.
Exactly.
So how do you think we can actually cultivate that kind of mindset?
It takes conscious effort
Yeah.
and a willingness to step back from the day-to-day chaos
Right.
and really connect with yourself.
And that reminds me of what the source was saying about using mandalas
Yes.
as a tool for meditation and contemplation,
Yeah. Mandalas are really powerful tools for introspection.
because they provide that visual representation of the interconnectedness of everything.
Yeah.
And they remind us that even in the midst of all the chaos, there's still beauty.
Yeah. And there's an underlying order.
So it's about finding that stillness
Yeah.
in the middle of the storm.
Exactly. And it's from that place of stillness that we can access our wisdom, our values, and our capacity for love.
Okay.
And those things can really inform our leadership.
That makes sense. You know, this also makes me think about that quote from the source material, the one about choosing our response.
Oh, yes.
Between stimulus and response, there is a space.
In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom.
Viktor Frankl. That's powerful.
Yeah, his words are a really good reminder that even when things feel totally out of control, we still have the power to choose how we respond to things.
Yeah.
And it's that choice that really shapes who we become.
It's about recognizing our agency,
Yeah.
our ability to respond intentionally,
Uh-huh.
even when things are really tough.
Exactly. And that agency that's guided by love is really what allows us to lead authentically
Right.
and to make a real impact.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of things here. We've talked about the difference between leadership and management,
Mm-hmm.
the importance of vision,
Right.
the role of character, and
Yeah.
how challenges can actually shape us and help us grow.
Yeah.
So what are some practical things that our listeners can take away from this? How can they embody these principles as they lead?
Well, I think a really important takeaway is to cultivate self-awareness,
Okay.
to really spend some time reflecting on your values, your strengths, and the areas where you could grow.
Okay.
And you know, that personal scorecard idea is really helpful
Yeah.
to identify both your performance character strengths and your moral ones.
So it's about knowing who you are
Yeah.
at your core
Uh-huh.
and leading from that place of authenticity.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid of challenges.
Right.
See them as opportunities to learn and to grow.
And remember that quote. Is God punishing me or is God challenging me?
Challenges are not roadblocks.
Yeah.
They're stepping stones.
And I think it's important to remember, too, that leadership is not a solo sport.
It's not.
It's about building relationships,
Yeah.
fostering connections,
Yeah.
creating a culture of trust and respect.
Absolutely. It's about serving others, inspiring them, and helping them to reach their full potential.
And all of that brings us back to that idea of leadership as love.
Yeah.
It's about leading with compassion and empathy and a genuine desire to make a positive impact.
Yes.
One of the sources had this great quote at the end.
Yeah.
It said, "If you are a lamp for someone else, it will brighten your path."
Beautiful.
So it's not about power and control.
Right.
It's about service and connection.
Exactly. And I think that's probably the most important takeaway from all of this.
So as we wrap up this first part of our exploration of leadership,
Yeah.
we'll leave you with this question. How can you be a lamp for the people that you lead? How can you inspire them and motivate them and serve them with love?
It's something to think about as we move on to the next part of this discussion.
Yeah, definitely.
It is. And, it really does take us back to that question. Is God punishing me or is God challenging me, expert speaker? Because it really asks us to think about challenges not as punishments,
Yeah.
but as opportunities to get better, to grow.
Right.
And that's really important for leaders.
It is a profound shift in perspective. Do you think that this ties into the idea of leadership as love?
Oh, absolutely. When you view these challenges as opportunities, it means that you can approach them with curiosity and maybe even excitement instead of just fear or resentment.
Right.
And that's something that can be contagious, that can inspire your whole team.
Yeah. So instead of feeling defeated,
Yeah,
they see it as a chance to learn and grow as a team.
exactly. And, this also connects to that concept of constructive discontent.
Right. Always striving for improvement and making positive change.
Yeah. Always pushing forward.
But how can you cultivate that kind of mindset?
Yeah.
It's so easy to get bogged down by negativity when
Like
you're faced with
that.
challenges.
It's true. And that's why you need to take time for introspection.
Okay.
And one of the articles mentions mandalas as a way to do that. To meditate and contemplate,
Yeah.
leaders really need that time and space to connect with themselves and really think about their values. And that way they can lead authentically.
So it's like finding that stillness
Yeah.
in the middle of the storm.
Yeah.
That inner compass that guides you.
Yeah, exactly. And when you can find that stillness, you can tap into your capacity for love. And I don't just mean love for the people you lead, but love for the work that you're doing. Love for the challenges themselves because they help you grow. And love for the positive impact that you're making on the world.
This reminds me of that quote about the power of choice.
Yeah.
The one from Viktor Frankl.
Yes.
Between stimulus and response, there is a space.
Right.
In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom.
Those words are so powerful.
They are.
Because we're constantly facing new stimuli, challenges, setbacks, and successes.
Right.
But how we respond to those things, that's what shapes our path.
Yeah.
So are we going to react with fear or anger?
Yeah.
Or are we going to choose love, compassion,
Yeah.
and that desire to grow?
It's a great reminder that we have the power to choose.
Yes.
Even in the toughest situations.
And that power guided by love can really make you a better leader.
Okay. So we've talked about a lot.
Uh-huh.
We've talked about the difference between leadership and management.
Yeah.
The importance of vision and character.
Right.
And how challenges can actually make us stronger.
Great.
So for people listening to this, what are some things that they can take away and actually put into practice?
Well, first of all, I'd say it's important to know yourself. Spend some time thinking about your values, your strengths, and where you need to grow.
Right.
That personal scorecard is a really great tool to do that
Yeah, it is.
because it can help you figure out your performance strengths and your moral strengths.
So it's all about leading authentically.
Exactly. And don't run from challenges.
Yeah.
Embrace them.
Right.
Remember, is God punishing me or is God challenging me?
Stepping stones, not roadblocks.
Exactly. And remember, leadership is not a one-person show.
It's not.
It's about building strong relationships with the people around you
Right.
and creating a culture of trust.
A culture where everyone feels respected and valued.
Yeah.
Where they can reach their potential.
It really all comes back to leadership as love.
It does.
Leading with compassion,
Yeah.
empathy,
Uh-huh.
and wanting to make a positive impact.
It all ties together.
One of the sources had this amazing quote: "If you are a lamp for someone else, it will brighten your path."
Beautiful.
So it's not about being in control. It's about serving others and connecting with them. And I think that's the most important thing for people to remember.
So as we wrap up this part of our conversation about leadership,
Okay.
we want to leave you with this question. How can you be a lamp for the people that you lead? How can you inspire and motivate them and serve them with love?
It's something to really think about as you continue on your own leadership journey.
Yeah, it really is powerful.
Yeah.
It makes you think, it suggests that real leadership isn't just about you.
Right.
It's about lighting the way for other people.
Exactly. And often when you do that, you end up lighting your own way as well. So it's all connected.
This deep dive has been fascinating. We've talked about the difference between management and leadership.
Yeah.
And how important vision and character are, and how challenges can actually be opportunities to grow.
Yeah.
And of course, this whole idea of leadership as love.
Absolutely. Not just as an idea, but as something that really drives how we lead and connect with people
Right.
and how we make a difference.
Before we finish up, I wanted to mention one more thing from the source material.
Okay.
It really stuck with me. It talked about how important it is to live by your values.
Yeah, that's really what authentic leadership is all about.
Right. It's not just talking the talk.
It's walking the walk.
And they suggested making a personal scorecard
Oh, yeah.
to keep track of your values
Mm-hmm.
and make sure you're actually living up to them.
Yeah, it's a great way to hold yourself accountable and to make sure that your actions match your words.
It's about setting a high standard for yourself.
Right. Not just in how well you perform, but in what kind of person you are.
And that's really what sets great leaders apart.
Yeah.
Is that commitment to integrity, to being real, to leading with love and a desire to serve others.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we'll leave you with this. What does your personal scorecard look like? Are you living by your values? Are you leading with love and a commitment to making a difference in the world?
Those are great questions to think about. Leadership's a journey. It's not a destination.
That's right. It's about constantly learning and growing and changing.
Exactly.
And if you can embrace everything we've talked about today and lead with love and courage and authenticity, you can make that journey a truly amazing one.
For yourself and for the people you lead.
Thank you for joining us.
Good.